Good afternoon. My topic for presentation today is COVID-19 NIV versus HFNC. The non-invasive ventilation guidelines make no recommendation on use in hypoxemic respiratory failure, except in case of cardiogenic pulmonary edema and postoperative respiratory failure, and it make no recommendation on its use in pandemic viral illness. Pathophysiology of a severe viral pneumonia is ARDS. NIV temporarily improves oxygenation and reduces the work of breathing, but it cannot change the natural course of the disease. So the risk of NIVs are delayed intubation leading to emergency intubations and more unstable intubations, and there will be more risk for transmission to healthcare workers. And it will deliver large tidal volumes, and it can be injurious. It can deliver injurious transpulmonary pressures also. So it will aggravate the already existing lung injury. And there is really limited data suggests a high failure rate in other viral infections like MRSA. In that case, the NIV failure rate was about 92%, and in influenza and H1N1 and SARS, it varies from 10 to 70%. And finally, it is an aerosol generating procedure, so further increasing the risk of transmission to healthcare workers. So this is the WHO interim guidelines that was released in 13th March 2020. And it recommends selected use of NIV in acute hypoxemic respiratory failure, and that should be used with the airborne precautions. So the exclusion criteria for NIV is hemodynamic instability, multi-organ failure, and abnormal mental status. If this can be excluded, a trial of NIV for 1 hour can be given in a monitored setting by an experienced personnel with airborne precautions. Surviving sepsis campaign guidelines on COVID-19 recommends in adults with COVID-19 and acute hypoxemic respiratory failure, if HFNC is not available and there is no urgent indication for endotracheal intubation, they suggest a trial of non-invasive osteopressure ventilation with close monitoring and short interval assessment for worsening of respiratory failure. So WHO recommends the use of NIV in selected case of acute hypoxemic respiratory failure in COVID-19 patients, and that should be used with the airborne precautions. So the exclusion criteria for NIV is hemodynamic instability, multi-organ failure, and abnormal mental status. And if these can be ruled out, a trial of NIV can be given for 1 hour in a monitored setting with an experienced personnel with airborne precautions. And surviving sepsis guidelines on COVID-19 recommends its use in acute hypoxemic respiratory failure in COVID-19 patient if HFNC is not available and there is no urgent indication for endotracheal intubation. Then NIV, regarding the NIV settings, no study compared between the different modes of ventilation, and most of the studies BPAP was used. That is in other causes of hypoxemic respiratory failure, like MRSA and H1N1, SARS, etc. So ARDS strategy has to be used with a low volume, low pressure ventilation. Tidal volume targeted is 6 ml per kg, with the P-flat pressure should be less than 30 centimeter, and PEEP is used to improve oxygenation. So EPAP we can start EPAP at 10 centimeter and gradually increase according to the patient's comfort and oxygenation. So the final settings depends on the patient comforts and oxygenation. So the use of NIV is justified in resource if the resource become overstretched and IMV is not available, and there is moderate chances of success with NIV. And in COVID-19 patients with a coexisting acute hypercapnic respiratory failure or acute cardiogenic pulmonary edema. So this is a single-centered retrospective observational study that was conducted in China. So the sample size is 52 patients with confirmed COVID-19 admitted in ICU. 29 of 52 patients were given NIV, of whom 76% required intubation and invasive mechanical ventilation. The ICU mortality rate in NIV was 79%, and in invasive mechanical ventilation was 86%. And there is no RCT available that is comparing this NIV and this thing, HFNC in COVID-19 patients. The aerosol generating precautions are surviving sepsis guidelines recommend using filter respiratory mask in addition to other PPE, and they recommend performing all aerosol generating procedures in ICU patients with COVID-19 in a negative pressure room. WHO guidance on COVID-19 also recommends the use of negative pressure rooms with a minimum of 12 air changes per hour, or at least 160 liter per second per patient in facilities with a natural ventilation. And beds has to be kept 1 meter distance, more than 1 meter distance. Some NIV technical aspects. There are two main places where the aerosols leaks into the atmosphere. So that is, one is patient leak, that is between the patient and mask. So a well-fitted and well-sized mask will prevent this. So helmet mask or full face mask has to be used in giving NIV in such patients. And the other one is intentional leak, that is vented or exhalation ports. So a non-vented mask and filters in expiration ports will prevent the intentional leak. But some aerosols may leak through the connection, so PPE is mandatory. Then regarding the helmet non-invasive positive pressure ventilation. So a single center RCT showed decreased intubation and improved mortality from NIPPV delivered by helmet in ARDS patient, and they shown to reduce exhaled air dispersion also. But this helmet shaped NIPPV is more expensive, and without direct evidence of benefit in COVID-19 patients, resources should not be utilized if it is not already available. So surviving sepsis campaign guidelines, they're not able to make a recommendation regarding the helmet NIPPV. So it is an option, but it's not certain about its safety and efficacy in COVID-19 patients. So non-vented mask with a double limb. This is the preferred one to deliver NIV in COVID-19 patients. And the second preferred one is a non-vented mask with an exhalation port filter. This is the exhalation port, and this is the filter. So in this case, if the filter has more resistance, then the CO2 won't escape into the, it won't go through the filter. So it can cause CO2 retention. The least preferred one is the inline filter. So a filter at this position, it increases the work of breathing as well as triggering, and it increases the inspiratory, the inspiratory flow may get exhausted also, and secretions may accumulate. So this is the least preferred type. High flow nasal cannula oxygen therapy. It contains an oxygen air blender. This can provide up to 100% of oxygen and 60 liter per minute flow rate. And there is a humidifier, and in this the air is heated and humidified, and it is delivered to a single limb to the patient. So the advantages is it provides high concentrations of humidified oxygen It can provide low levels of PEEP also, that is up to 3 to 7 it can provide. It facilitates the elimination of CO2, reduces the dead space, and prevents thick secretion and subsequent atelectasis. HFNC should be used. It can be used in hypoxemic respiratory failure in COVID-19 patients, but the exclusion criteria are hypercapnia, that is an exacerbation of OAD or cardiogenic pulmonary edema that is coexisting with the ARDS, or hemodynamic instability, multi-organ failure, and abnormal mental status. And a trial for 1 hour has to be given under strict monitoring with an experienced personnel who can intubate the patient if the patient deteriorates under all airborne precautions. This is surviving sepsis campaign recommendation on COVID-19 with acute hypoxemic respiratory failure. They suggest the use of HFNC if the patient over conventional oxygen therapy, but no direct evidence on patients with COVID-19 that is comparing both HFNC as well as conventional oxygen therapy, but it reduces intubation rate compared with the conventional oxygen therapy in other viral ARDS, and the contamination risk similar to that of conventional oxygen. HFNC is more comfortable, or at least as comfortable as conventional oxygen therapy. In adults with the COVID-19 and acute hypoxemic respiratory failure, they suggest HFNC over non-invasive positive pressure ventilation. This is a weak recommendation, low quality of evidence. There is no randomized controlled trials in coronavirus-related pneumonia that is comparing both HFNC and NIV. And HFNC decrease the risk of intubation in other viral pneumonia as compared to NIV, and lesser risk of nosocomial infection to healthcare workers in HFNC. So, according to the Indian guidelines, that is a revised guidelines on clinical management of COVID-19, that is by Government of India, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. They have the similar guidelines as WHO. They are not giving preference to HFNC or NIV. This is the largest trial on the use of HFNC in acute hypoxemia respiratory failure. Its name is Florali trial, and the sample size is 310. This compared the HFNC, standard oxygen therapy, and NIPPV. The primary outcome was the proportion of patients intubated at day 28, and the secondary outcomes included all-cause mortality in 90 days and the number of ventilator-free days at day 28. The intubation rate was similar in all the study group, and the number of ventilator-free days at day 28 was significantly higher in the high-flow oxygen group, and the hazard ratio of death at 90 days was 2.01 with a standard oxygen versus high-flow oxygen with a p-value of 0.04 and 2.50 with non-invasive ventilation versus high-flow oxygen with p-value of 0.006. So they couldn't find any change in the intubation rate. But later studies in viral pneumonia, they have found some lesser intubation chances with HFNC. The demerits of HFNC is the concern regarding the ward oxygen flow rates and the hospital oxygen reserves. Any patient with COVID-19 with hypoxia, patient has to be assessed for the indication for endotracheal intubation. If there is no indication for endotracheal intubation, then patient has to be given supplemental oxygen. If patient is not tolerating supplemental oxygen, Then the next choice is high HFNC. If patient is not tolerating HFNC or HFNC is not available, then the patient has to be assessed for indication for endotracheal intubation. If that is not there, then consider a trial of NIPPV. This is according to the surviving sepsis guidelines, sir. So now the latest one paper that I have found is it's about the atypical acute respiratory distress syndrome in COVID-19 patients. So whatever the ventilator, the ARDS strategy now we are using is only that is only for this standard treatment for the typical ARDS. So this is an article that is published in Critical Care Journal, and this is about the different types of ARDS phenotypes. The type 1 ARDS phenotype, that is an early presentation of ARDS. In such patient, the compliance is very good and the recruitability is low. And the mechanism of hypoxemia in this patient is impaired pulmonary vasoconstriction. So there will be V/Q mismatch. So in these patients, ideally they have to be managed with a low PEEP with a tidal volume of 6 ml per kg, low tidal volume, and respiratory rate up to 20 per minute. This type 2 respiratory type 2 ARDS, this is a late presentation of COVID-19 ARDS. Here the compliance will be low, recruitability will be high, and the mechanism of hypoxemia is similar to the classical ARDS, that is right to left shunt and atelectasis and all. And in these patients, the ventilator-induced lung injury also contribute to the mechanism of hypoxemia. So these patients has to be managed with the standard treatment for severe ARDS. So this is regarding community NIV. So NHS and BTS guidance is continue to use the usual method of ventilation and encourage to use even when the patient has symptoms of respiratory infection. This is regarding our home NIV, sir. And the concern is infection to household contacts, and how to reduce the infection chances to household contacts has to be assessed, sir. Yes, sir. Hello.
Dhanub here.
Yes, Dhanub.
This when compliance is low, how is the recruitability high?
It's not like that. In this particular type of, there is this Gattinoni defined 2 types of ARDS phenotypes in COVID-19 patients. So according to the, there is one type 1 ARDS that is with a high compliance and low recruitability. Means the lung volumes are good, and recruitability means there is no more lung to recruit. Actually, that lung is not that much affected by the pneumonia.
Okay. Thank you.
Arya, is it same as type L and H?
Yes, sir. Low elastance, and type L is low elastance, and the type H is high elastance.
So is it a natural progress, like it starts with type L and type 1 and goes to type 2, or both are completely different, like different patients?
Sir, this article is saying that this type 1 is an early presentation of ARDS, sir. And with the CT, we can categorize into type 1 and type 2 with the same.
Starts with type 1 and then moves, when it becomes severe, goes to type
2. But we are managing all ARDS with this standard treatment protocol for severe ARDS, sir. that may cause a problem in type 1. Means high PEEP should not be used in type 1 ARDS, sir. That is the significance of this subgroup.
You told about the role of NIV. What about CPAP, simple CPAP?
Sir, this ERS handbook is saying there is no, even I couldn't find any comparative study between CPAP and BiPAP. In some of the articles regarding this type L and type H, they were telling this CPAP is used more.
In type 1, CPAP alone may be useful.
Yes, sir. But in selected patients.
Like in cardiogenic pulmonary edema, CPAP is one of the methods by which you can improve oxygenation.
And in ERS handbook, it's saying like we can start with an EPAP of 10, EPAP and IPAP of 10. That means it is CPAP, no, sir?
Yeah, that's right. This may be relevant in resource limited settings where you don't have facilities or expertise to intubate and manage an invasive ventilator. A simple CPAP, which is otherwise used for OSA, can be used for management of respiratory failure.
Yes.
But ideally, you should have a full face mask, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Full face mask. That is the
which we don't. Filter has to be in the.
Sir, it's not audible, sir.
So can you repeat the question, sir? We had a internet mistake.
Sir, it's not
supposed to try out the viral filters with our own BiPAP machines. How we are able to fit it along with the circuit. So whatever I can recall is only inline filters we will be able to manage, but that will decrease the sensitivity of the, triggering sensitivity of the BiPAP, isn't it?
Yes, sir. That is also a method, but that is the least preferred one, sir.
Right. So this is an important news that dispersion with high flow nasal oxygen is not excess as compared to the simple oxygen mask, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Actually, studies are available on that. Even surviving sepsis guidelines recommends this.
So again, what you told is correct, that oxygen, high flow nasal oxygen cannula uses 60 liters of oxygen. And that will be one thing is it will be very costly in our setting. Other thing is when there is limited oxygen resource, which is the case in many hospitals in which so many COVID patients are receiving oxygen, it will simply remove the oxygen oxygen reserve which is available. A single patient will remove the oxygen supply for 10 to 15 patients because of the high oxygen. Okay, thank you. Well done.
Yes, sir.